Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy, and today I have outtakes for you. Now, before I do that, before we get to the fun, funny, interesting outtakes of things that didn't make it into previous episodes, I have to apologize because I have been remiss in having victim resources in the show for you guys. It's something that we talked about back when we talked about not covering Dahmer in the fall of 2022. And I've tried to remember to do this and I've not been good about it. And it needs to go in my list of things that I do every episode. But that said, I'd like to remind you that there is a new suicide and crisis lifeline, that if you are feeling in a desperate situation, if you're feeling like you're going to harm yourself or that you need help in some way, instead of having to call a long 1-800 number in the U.S., if you are in the U.S., you can call 988 to get immediate help. So if you're in a vulnerable situation, please reach out to that number. It's easy to remember, 988, not 911, 988. You can get some help, and please do that. Now, the first set of outtakes we have is from our episode on Lorena, the Amazon Prime show that we covered back in the fall of 2022. We have flubs and stumbles. We laugh about Jackie thinking that there's a camera when there's not. I talk about a funny skit on Colbert briefly, which I'll post on our social media. We used to do on the show reviews from other people where we would talk about whether we agreed with them or disagreed with them. That's not a thing that we really do anymore. And I think Lorena was the last time that we did it. And then I decided to go ahead and cut it out for time. But we have a lot of interesting discussions in that part about why the media coverage of Lorena and John Wayne Bobbitt was important to talk about in that particular documentary. Reporters do, in fact, listen to the police scanners. We talk about malicious wounding. We talk about dressing appropriately for court. And how much does a man's member really mean to him? Enjoy. Which Lorena, do
you see me looking at the camera? That's not there.
Not there.
Sorry. I'm like looking at it because I got such in a habit and it's not there. That's just so funny. Okay.
One of these days I'll get back to doing
that. We'll get back to doing it someday. Sorry. That was just so funny because I realized I wasn't talking to you.
You talking to a camera?
I was looking to
there?
A wall. What is happening to me?
Where the camera ought to be.
Where are you? Yeah. So anyway, okay.
Whatever.
I digress.
Right. It took longer than it took for women to be hit to be considered abuse than it did. It took less time. No, it's been... Studies have shown between 10 and 15% of women have been raped by their husbands. Despite these numbers, husbands historically have not been persecuted. Mm-hmm. Prosecuted.
They're
not persecuted. Let me say that again. And she hired not only an attorney.
Shame and sorry.
Did you see the Colbert where they had the nut punch jokes?
No.
Oh, God, I have to show it to you. Okay. It's like 2 minutes. But. Okay. All right. Anna Murray of the New Zealand Herald found their coverage of domestic abuse good.
Okay.
So the story's emphasis is where it should be, the wider issue of domestic abuse. Now, I have another one that's going to disagree with that.
Oh, interesting.
So the LA Times thought that they talked too much about the media hype and the salacious act and the subsequent trials, that there was other things they could have focused on a little more.
If it was an 8-episode series, maybe.
That's fair. Fair. This is Lorraine Ali. The problem is that Lorena gets bogged down in the sensationalism that it attempts to deconstruct. All the mania that helped establish court TV, the 24-hour news cycle. Despite its goal of cutting through the noise, the 4-hour series spends half its time immersed in the clamor of hammering away at how the press distorted fact, demonized Lorena, and painted John as the sole victim of this tragic story. But I think that's really important to understanding the story. It's not just a crime story about an abused wife cutting off her husband's member.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's about how she was re-victimized by the media.
Right. I think so. That's such an integral part of it because the media onslaught was so in real time for her and so up against her that it influenced decisions that she made with her attorney.
It influenced the entire jury.
It did. Like all of the jurors came in. Even the judge had to say, I know all of you know this and we're not going to get away from that, which is, wow, that's ooh.
I mean, he said that. And then, of course, I think the defending attorney for John Bobbitt said, they asked me if I wanted to move the trial. He's like, where were we going to move it to? Where people didn't know the story.
Right. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Because it was national media.
It was worldwide media.
Yeah. Now that's so true. It was global.
It was a global story.
It was foundational for the court TV and for what we have now with the 24-hour news cycle, because it showed that there was a market for it. And that there were going to be stories that would be perfect for it. And so it does. I don't know how you ignore that. But I could see how they want other episodes that just don't exist. And I'm like, you know what? Do a part 2.
Yeah.
Do a part 2 and dissect these other issues that you have. But
sure.
I don't know how you ignore it. I agree.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
Not them.
Yeah. Entertainment Weekly found that it may have gotten a little sidetracked, even this documentary, in the sensationalism of penis interruptus.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in this first episode.
Yeah, but I don't know how you not focus on it, too.
Well, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And they talk about how in the time period, we have Anita Hill, the several women who filed against William Kennedy Smith, and just 83 female officers who were sexually assaulted at Tallyhook. Mm-hmm. I mean, these were all big stories where women were not believed.
Well, and isn't it interesting for us right now to revisit this documentary and revisit the Anita Hill against Clarence Thomas?
I mean, she tried to tell us.
In light of, yeah. I mean, she did. And I think that you have to pay attention to that whole thing. And honestly, I do think you have to talk about John Wayne's experience. And because I think it colors, no. I think it's actually the lens in which the court system handled it.
That's super, super fair.
Look at the urgency for this.
Right.
And the fight that Lorena had.
Exactly. But they did talk about, they had a very succinct way of saying, after getting sidetracked by pictures of John Wayne's severed member, which, by the way, you see without warning.
It's true.
One juror in John's trial admits, and I believe it was the woman who said this, maybe we lost sight of what he was truly on trial for.
Oh, well. Oh. Absolutely.
And I think that's kind of fair because when you show these graphic images, it's hard to look at him and say, well, he may be a rapist, but did he deserve to have his thing cut off?
Yeah, no, the attorneys know that. That's why they did it.
Exactly.
But the judge allowed it.
The judge allowed it, but I wish there had been a little less of that in that first episode of Lorena. And maybe a little more of some of the other stuff that people are complaining that they didn't get.
Well, I may disagree only because I think it deserves a whole episode.
Okay.
And I do think that we have to talk about the police response and how, and I do think we do.
Sure.
We need to hear from John and how it affected him. Because I think then when we get the rest of his story, then we make a complete circle and just kind of can put that aside. Like in my mind, I'm like, aha, I've seen your whole story, and I've seen the whole story.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the police response, the media response, the national feeling of getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
That so many people had and carried.
That's super
I wanted
fair.
to know, like,
I needed less information from the doctors, though, about how to reattach that.
okay, I'm a nerd. That was interesting. I don't know.
It was interesting, but I think it gave a lot of weight to his plight.
His plight. Yeah. I know. What I thought was it gave a lot of weight to his success. Look how many people rushed to his aid to put him back together, to make it functional.
$190,000 from the listeners of Howard Stern.
Right. I mean, y'all, he didn't just get his penis reattached. It works.
Oh, I think that, well, we'll talk about it.
Well, it
a little
did.
later. It did. Well,
Yeah, we can talk about it later. But I think that was the point that I was interested in, that, like, look how much effort went into making sure he was completely restored.
yeah, that he was whole.
That he was whole.
And how little effort went into her being whole.
Yeah.
Like none.
None.
All right. And then finally, Vulture had an article by Jen Chaney. Amazon's Lorena docuseries will make you rethink the Bobbitt case. And I found this one to be really fair. While Lorena recounts much of the story objectively, there's no question that it skews toward depicting Lorena Bobbitt as the hero. Fair.
It is fair.
The series doesn't totally go easy on her, though, nor does it sidestep the reasons why John may have turned out the way he did. And they do talk in the 4th episode about why he might have been the way he was. Not that it's an excuse.
No.
But under deeper understanding.
Yeah.
Lorena does overlook some less flattering details about its namesake protagonist, like a 1997 assault charge she faced after hitting her mother, of which she was later acquitted, and the fact that she and John appeared together on a show called The Insider in 2009. So, okay. Those are fair criticisms.
It's fair criticisms, but they're also appearing in this thing, so.
Right, but not together.
Not quite together, but also, like, they also know that if one isn't in it, it won't be as a success.
Right.
So.
I mean, you got to believe they were both paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, okay. But
dispatchers at the beginning of the episode talk about how they have to send police officers to the hospital where John has gone to seek treatment for his dong decapitation, but they couldn't say penis on the dispatch radios because journalists listened to it.
yeah, they didn't know how to communicate
Yeah.
in a way that would keep them out of it.
Yeah. So that's a thing that happens. Radio,
Yeah.
Television, Digital News Association talks about how journalists do listen to the radio, the private radio of, well, not private, it's public. You can listen to it. Anybody can listen to
Yeah, I mean, you can get a police scanner anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You can get it on the internet. You
Yeah.
can listen to it on your phone.
Right.
They talk about how that despite the fact that this is a direct source of information, you have to always treat it as unconfirmed.
Right.
Yes. Anyone tuning into a live scanner feed or reading a transcription of a feed on social media should not assume that everything they're hearing is accurate.
Right. Well, because they're talking about the evidence and the case as they see things.
Right. Or they get a call in and the dispatcher is giving the information to the police officer from what they heard on a 911 call, which may or may not be accurate.
Right.
Somebody might be upset or lying or whatever. And until the police go there and investigate, we have to treat all of it with a grain of salt. And even then, you have to wait for the evidence.
Right. And I love the fact that they pointed out this was 1993. So they had no way of actually communicating what was happening without the radios.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not like they could hey, who's on duty? Let me text them.
Right. Let me send some personal information, kind of different avenue.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
None of that's happening. Yeah. So Lorena was charged with malicious wounding.
Yeah. It's so funny because it sounds like a euphemism, and it kind of is, but it's also like the legal thing.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't know why I kept giggling at it.
Well, because it's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
Greenspun Law has an article all about malicious wounding. They said there are 3 things that have to be evident in this. The person stabbed, shot, cut, wounded, or otherwise caused bodily injury to another person.
Okay.
Done. The person intended to maim, disfigure, disable, or kill the victim while committing the criminal act.
Yep.
She says she doesn't remember it well.
Yeah, and I understand that.
So,
but I think
there was some level of intention that she did this so she wouldn't be hurt again.
Right. Which would be a disfigurement. Like she meant to change him.
Right.
In a manner.
Right. And it has to have been committed with malice. That's where I kind of take my issue with it. I don't know that it was committed with malice. It was committed out of fear. Mm-hmm. It was committed out of desperation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Malice, that's true. Does that word really fit her?
I don't know that it does.
I don't know.
It can have a possible sentence of between 5 and 20 years and a fine of up to $100,000.
Okay.
So that was, what she was facing was up to 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
And she didn't take a deal because she wanted to be able to remain in the U.S. to be able to become a citizen.
Right.
So.
Which was, wow, what a gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Right. I mean, what choice did she have?
I mean,
really?
To take a deal though, and then go to jail and then go back to her home country. And, but the fear of losing and having doing real time, whoo, man.
Yeah. So the fascinating part of this episode, or a fascinating part of this episode, was hearing how differently males and females, including the jurors, really viewed this case. And a male juror took issue with Lorena's inconsistent dress, which made me want to strangle him.
I wanted to hit him so much.
But he has a point. Plaintiff magazine talks about effective witness or plaintiff preparation includes clothing.
It does.
Unfortunately, it does. And the thinking is generally that you want to dress your client conservatively so that they're not being distracted by the clothing. Mm-hmm. They give an example of somebody who did this poorly. So Martha Stewart's son-in-law was her trial attorney, and he kind of forgot to tell her not to maybe wear her mink stole and beige Hermes bag, and it at court. Don't look rich in court.
Don't flaunt it.
No. You want to look professional and neutral.
Yeah, neutral. That's a great term.
Neutral. And Deborah Bogards, who wrote this article, said that she prefers that her clients wear gray, navy, or brown, which are colors that tend to make people look more honest, and that she finds black to be too severe for her female clients. Mm-hmm. Which I'm like, women should be able to wear black, but I get it. Because the jury is making decisions about what you look like. First impressions matter. Your physical appearance and your testimony are what the jury is going to use to determine whether you're authentic or not.
Yeah. And I mean, I took issue, but he is right, but he's also wrong, because the only reason he's right is because people can't figure out how to not judge people, or they can't figure out how to judge it right. Yeah. I mean, okay, so she wore her favorite dress to court on a hard day.
Right. And then she wore something that made her feel confident on a day she wasn't feeling confident.
Right.
So she wore a suit one day and a sweet dress another day. And he took issue with it because she wore two different things, because I guess people are only supposed to be one thing.
Well, because he was like, well, what is it that she wants me to think? She ain't I mean, I know she's supposed to think about you, but she only has to think about you because you're so selfish that you think that she's dressing for you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There you go. So John's brothers were really upset. on John's
they were
behalf.
very, very upset.
So Brother Todd said that he'd have killed Lorena if he'd been able to find her, and that Brett said that she did worse than kill him. She took away the thing that means most to a man.
I was like,
does this really mean the most to a man?
My eyeballs rolled so hard in that moment.
So Scott Muska wrote an article for Women's Health magazine, and all the men in this article have opinions about their penises, but you know what it's not? Their entire identity.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about how, sometimes they really love their penis, sometimes they hate their penis, most of the time they're really just ambivalent about it. So I wouldn't say that it's accurate to say it's the thing that means the most to a man, because there are plenty of men who are wonderful and impotent.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can be wonderful partners and well-respected members of the community.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what he's saying, that his brother John is kind of dumb and all he really has going for him was his rapish. Anyway. All of the sources that we use to inform our discussion here on Killer Fun Podcast can be found on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Killer Fun Podcast, exploring the intersection of crime and entertainment. You can find us on Twitter at Killer Fun Pod, or you can send us an email at killerfunpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to share a link to whatever information you're looking for. We love to hear from you. You might learn a little something too. Next up, we have The Patient. We talk about how to make tea. There's a big, long discussion about that. People have very strong opinions on how to make tea. Medical conditions that might require a person to wear sunglasses inside. Is the silent treatment appropriate sometimes? And we did a little programming talk on the air because we hadn't gotten around to that before we recorded the show. Enjoy. One of the first things I noticed is that Dr. Strauss makes tea, and he's a dunker.
He's a dunker, and a quick dunker. It's like dunk, dunk, you're done. I'm like, that's hot water.
Okay, so I was like, what is going on here? Because I was taught in 7th grade home economics that is not how you make tea, that's the wrong way to make tea. You're supposed to steep it for 3 to 5 minutes, and that is how you make tea.
And then you can dunk a little.
And then you dunk a little and whatever you need, if you need anything, honey or milk or sugar or whatever. Lemon.
Yeah, what is the dunking thing? Without the steeping? Is this a film edit situation?
Well, I think it's a thing that some people do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so foodcrumbles.com has a whole looking at the science. Should you dunk or steep your tea? So I read way more about tea than is probably warranted by this particular bit, but I read about it, so you get to hear about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how should we?
An argument for dunking is that it can, because of the movement, help disperse the flavor throughout the cup more quickly.
Okay.
But if you just dunk it a few times, you're only getting extraction of a small amount of the flavor enhancers that are in tea, and for some people that's all they want. They dunk, and it basically is hot water with a little bit of flavor.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one way to do it. Now, if you steep, then the molecules tend to stay closer to the bag, but more of them are released from the tea leaves. So really, what it amounts to is a matter of preference. I thought I was going to find a definitive answer of dunking or steeping, and I was certain I was going to find steeping as the right way to do it.
Well, because they make a lot of paraphernalia for the steeping.
Well, yes. Well, and if you have a loose leaf tea, you actually should steep.
You should.
Because there are larger pieces, and you steep, and then those larger pieces unfold, which if you've ever seen the flower teas, which are just delightful, you get this clear carafe that you put it in and pour the hot water over it, and it opens, and it's just lovely.
And shouldn't you put a thing over it if you're steeping
that's
it?
What I do.
Put a thing over it so that it kind of
Yeah.
Because the aromas, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. But that's how I was taught to do it.
Right.
So that's how I always do it. But, some people like to just dunk, and that is a perfectly appropriate way to make tea.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
If you have a tea bag, then it's fine.
Right.
But
okay.
My preference is to steep, but I
I guess I do steep and then dunk.
Yeah.
Like steep and then dunk, dunk,
Well, and I even
and then squeeze.
Yes. I was going to say, I even put the tea bag on the spoon and wrap
it.
Yes. So that the little string squeezes out
I have literally not made tea in like so long.
Oh, I made tea just a few weeks ago. I made it for myself, and then my entire family was like, oh, tea sounds good. So I ended up making 4 separate mugs of tea.
And you're like,
I really could have done it all at once.
Yeah, really could have.
It would have been great. Mm-hmm. I digress.
That's my line. It's fine.
I steal it once in a while. So Sam as Jean wears sunglasses indoors at their sessions.
Yeah.
He says it's because he has a medical condition.
Okay.
I was like,
yep.
No, it was not. But I was like, what are medical conditions? He said he'd been to 2 doctors. What could it be?
What could it be?
So there are a couple of things. There's photophobia and photosensitivity. So they often get used interchangeably, but they're actually different things. So photophobia causes you to be extra sensitive to light, and photosensitivity is an immune reaction to ultraviolet light.
Okay.
So they are 2 different things. So if it's photophobia, you actually should not wear dark glasses inside because it can actually worsen the condition. It can make it so that you're even more sensitive to the light.
Okay.
And photophobia tends to accompany other medical conditions. Now, that might be an early sign of it. So for migraines and things like that can cause photophobia. And once you address the underlying cause,
it go away.
It can go away.
Now that's interesting because I've always been that might apply to me. I don't know which one applies to me.
Huh.
But I love sunlight outside.
Yes.
But I sneeze at the sun, right?
Uh-huh.
So I am with the sunglasses
yes.
I'm supernaturally fast with the sunglasses, And it's true though that I love the sun, but it's like a little much, but I won't realize it until far later.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or I'll work on the computer, ultraviolet light, and I won't realize it until way later when my eyes feel so dry and they feel like they're popping out of my head.
Oh.
And then it'll take me a while to realize, I've been at the computer a lot. But when I was a kid, and I still hate fluorescent lights, I just can't stand them.
Yeah.
And I remember
that's because they're objectively awful.
They are, right? But as a kid, I remember it bothered me so much. And I really and I think most people don't like them.
Right.
But I think most people don't have the
visceral reaction that you do.
Of I hate these, and it's not like it kills me immediately.
Right.
Or that I get a migraine immediately. But later, after spending a day in a building with that kind of light, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's no fun.
But stage lights in my eyes, no problem.
You're totally fine with that.
Or other kind of light, or even the sun, but with the sunglasses on, I'm good. Even not even dark, just polarized. Right. Just so that's interesting. So I don't know which one applies to me.
I don't know either.
Okay.
But you probably don't have glaucoma.
I don't think so.
So probably not, because you're young. But Bono was young when he got diagnosed with glaucoma.
That's true.
So you see him with tinted lenses and glasses all the time, indoors and out, because he does have glaucoma, and he's kind of made it work for his look.
Yeah.
But he legitimately, that is a health condition that would require you to be wearing sunglasses all the time.
I did have a friend actually growing up. Not through my whole childhood, but for a few years. But she had some sort of medical condition that required a colored lens.
Okay.
And before she got those glasses, she had regular glasses and she had a colored transparency. And she would put that over. And it wasn't color blindness. because she could see color.
Okay.
But something about the color over the black and white page made it so that she could read it. And then she got glasses like Bono.
Oh.
And she had colored lenses. Yeah.
Interesting.
And now in elementary school, the transparency was like not cool. But then the colored glasses were like not cool for some reason. And I was like, I think they're cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, this was like younger elementary. So
Yeah.
people just didn't understand.
Any difference is something to be bullied about.
Right. Yeah.
Is Sam right when he tells Dr. Strauss that the silent treatment is unsophisticated? I mean, yes.
Yes. But also,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So
And no.
Well, in this case, I would say maybe not no, because what other tool did he have?
Exactly. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like when your words are power, it's like your presence. And so
Yes.
there comes a point where, no, you don't get my words and my power.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Well, Medical News Today talks about why people use the silent treatment. And yes, it can be immature because basically it prevents you from being able to resolve your issues.
Right. It can be so petty.
Right. Exactly. And there's 3 reasons why people use it. Avoidance, which is exactly what was happening here.
Right.
He was just trying to avoid talking about it. Communication, it can be a form of communication. A person may use silent treatment if they do not know how to express their feelings but want their partner to know that they are upset.
Yeah,
That's where it kind of is immature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, punishment.
Punishment.
Yeah.
Most people are using it as punishment.
Right.
If you're using the silent treatment, that's my guess.
If you're going to respond to it, actually, Sam responded to it in the best way. If it's not a part of a larger pattern of abuse, silent treatment, because it can be. This article talks all about that, and it's fine and worth read. Sam acknowledges the silent treatment, which is what you're supposed. Oh, you're not talking to me now.
Yeah.
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 Like,
But I mean,
what else is he supposed to do?
Exactly. And what else is he supposed to say?
Yeah. I mean, he does not have any tools at his disposal.
No.
Yeah.
But now that the mama's home,
she might just let him.
Maybe.
That's a spoiler.
Oh, we can't talk about that.
No.
All right.
All right. What are we going to talk about next time?
Oh yeah, I got your text and I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm watching. Okay, I've gone back to watching In the Dark.
Oh, me too.
So I'm wondering if we go back because this season 3 is like totally different.
And season 4 is
And
on
season
it.
4 is on too because I never watched season 3.
No, I didn't. I
it
had
wasn't-
started to watch season 3 like on the CW app.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just got distracted because it was, and I didn't go back. So I started season 4 and I'm like, I have no idea what is happening. I've not seen this.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So I went back and figured out where
Yeah. So I mean, we could go back and talk about it, but since it just hit, 4 just hit. But I like the other options. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
What were they?
So Clark.
Oh yeah, Clark was good. I watched it.
And then the after
Afterparty.
party. That looked kind of funny.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Now Clark is funny, but it's kind of heavy, but it's real, so that's good. But after party might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Do you have a preference?
Let me look here. Okay.
After
we're about
parties
to
can
get
more-
to Halloween.
Okay.
So if we do, because then we could do our
Oh, do we want to do
then something special.
for Halloween?
So we do something funny and then dive into like horror.
Okay. Well,
Ish.
both the after party and Clark are kind of funny.
Yeah.
So which one would you rather do
I don't
first?
care.
Okay.
Whichever. This I don't really have a.
Let's do the after party next.
Sounds good.
Next up, we have the After Party on Apple TV Plus. We were very, very distracted during this recording.
Okay.
At least we're warm.
We are warm now. Breathing from the diaphragm.
That's right.
Podcast. Okay.
In the northern, it was set so ridiculous. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit
good.
too.
Oh, good.
So, actually, right now.
Oh, we're going to talk. Sorry. I've heard that I put that sea salt spray in, and it's like now it's all going in different directions, and it's in my face.
Okay, I'll do whatever you need
No,
to do.
it's just like one hair that's like longer. Anyway, I'm gonna let it go. I'm just in a mood.
No,
okay.
it's fine. That's not better.
That's not better. Okay.
They said Laura Martosi. And last up, we have our discussion on not Dahmer. We did a Facebook Live about why we were not talking about Dahmer. So we have the end of the Facebook Live recording here, like before we actually started the show. Then we have a little break where we talk about what we do during the break, which people who watch the Facebook Live were able to see, of course, flubs. And then we would lament on how COVID killed our possible rise to fame and stardom. And we really appreciate that you guys listen and, tell a friend, because evidently we're probably not going to end up on Apple's new and noteworthy ever again, thanks to COVID.
I'm gonna spin. I wonder if anybody else is curious. Like, I wonder who else is like, what's happening? What are they about to say?
Don't worry, we're still going to make the show.
Yes.
We'll get to that more later.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. But should we officially start the show now?
I think. Are we ready? All right.
think so.
I think I'm ready.
All right. So
Let's do it.
I can understand wanting to humanize Dahmer.
Dominer? Every time. Mm-hmm. Cheers to that. But it's after 5 here.
Yeah. Central Standard Time. After
Central
5.
Standard Time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
And that's what we do when we go to break, is
Yep.
I give a little, so I can find it really easy when I go and edit. And then it makes this big, spike.
yep, on
Very
the wave.
exciting.
It's like a line. It's like, it looks like just a perfect line.
Yep.
It's kind of perfect. And then we sit here and we
Yeah. We wiggle. and
shake it out.
laugh.
Now,
and-
if the dog had been in here,
yeah.
we would have probably kicked her out by now.
Right.
Because about this moment is the time that she gets all wiggly.
Sorry, the fan.
Oh, yes, that'd be
It
good.
may be nearly November in South Texas. That does not mean it is not warm.
I have decided the weather here. Okay, I ask Alexa what the weather is. Okay, and she tells me the things. And one thing she leaves out all the time is what do you call it? The heat index. And I'm like, okay, growing up, my weather always included heat index.
It should.
Yeah, not just the feels like right now, but the heat index, so that I can just apply it to whatever temperature it's going to be. So it's going to be like 73. Oh, but standing in the sun, it's going to be 212.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Exactly.
heat index.
I'm literally going to boil away.
God, it got hot out there today.
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah.
In that sun.
Yeah.
Those bananas.
I believe it. Anyway. All right. So,
Wiggles.
wiggles.
The fan.
It feels so good. It feels so good.
Oh, that's funny.
Scratch my nose. All right. There was no one responsible for what I did except no. All right, so I'm doing my little snapping
break.
again, and we're gonna come right back into it.
Yep.
If you listen to this on the podcast later, you hear a little advertisement, which we don't like. We don't make any money on this show. Let me tell you, it pays for our expenses. Period.
Barely.
Almost.
Maybe.
Almost. 5 years we've been making this, and just now barely we're getting our expenses covered. Anyway.
Yeah, we digress.
Yeah.
The COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Can we lament just for a second?
Oh,
All right, listen.
please. 'Cause
Listen.
we ended up on the new and noteworthy page
On Apple Podcasts.
on Apple Podcasts.
And
at
then-
the beginning of the pandemic. It was February of 2020. I was so excited because we got this huge glut of downloads. It was so exciting. I'm like, what is this? This is fantastic. Wonderful. 3 weeks later, we were still on the new and noteworthy, and COVID hit, and everything got wiped off.
Yep.
Every blessed thing.
And then every podcast that was on there was COVID. And then
politics.
Or politics. But then all of the major networks and the major production houses started doing podcasting.
Yes.
So
because they were like, what are we going to do with our reporters?
Yep.
They can't leave the house.
Yeah. So all of a sudden
they all made podcasts.
And they became new and noteworthy.
Uh-huh.
We're not bitter.
Anyway. So. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. We have another set of outtakes for you in a couple of weeks. We hope that you'll join us for that, and we'll be back with you before you know it. Have a wonderful, wonderful January, and until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.